Welcome to Mic'd Up Investigates. I'm Tucker and I'm solo today only because Mic'd Up Investigates will not include Landon in every episode, but he will be in some to evaluate with us. In this show, we will be digging into infamous crime cases, and all of these cases are solved only because, like we said in the Mic'd Up with Landon and Tucker, is because we will talk about solved cases so we don't say something on an unsolved case that could go under evidence. Like what I mean by that is like we don't want to push our opinion out on an unsolved case and they put it under as evidence wherever they are. So the cases we'll go over are all of them are solved, or it will either be if it's unsolved, it's going to be small. The ones in these cases are the ones that shocked communities and grabbed headlines and still echo through time today. These are not unsolved mysteries. These are cases that found answers, however difficult or devastating they might have been. And the reason why I'm a really big crime person. I listen to Crime Junkie, I listen to The Deck. I'm an Ashley Flowers fan. Um, and we had the idea to start up Mic'd Up Investigates. But each case that I or Landon will go over will be cases that are mostly solved, like I said, and that are also have been forgotten about. Bring more light to this case so you can see what really happened or see how this went down. Today, we are starting with a haunting chapter in Georgia history where I live in Georgia. Between 1979 and 1981, at least 28 children, teenagers, and young adults were murdered in the Atlanta area. For 2 years, the city was paralyzed by fear. Parents kept their kids inside. Neighborhood watches like just sprang up. The FBI joined the hunt, and the nation watched in horror as body after body was discovered. This is Mic'd Up Investigates. This case opens up like this. The victims were mostly boys and all taken from their families in ways that seemed unthinkable. For a long time, police had no suspect, no pattern they could pin down. Like they had no ideas. Pressure mounted as the community quickly demanded answers. And guys, just so you know, I have the whole case pulled up on my iPad. So if y'all see me reading something, I'm reading over the case. um the big breakthrough is what came in 1981 when investigators staked out bridges around the Chattahoochee River. And the Chattahoochee River is a river that runs through Georgia, um, right near through Atlanta. They believed that the killer was dumping bodies in the river. And the reason why they believe this is because most bodies were found in that river and near a bridge. So they believed the killer would have the bodies in the car, drive over to the bridge, dump the body into the river, and drive off. So they had officers staked out at these certain bridges or where bodies were found or whatever, whatever, wherever. One night, one officer that was there heard a splash. They spotted a car that had just driven across a bridge. Behind the wheel was 23-year-old music promoter named Wayne Williams. 2 days later, the body of a man named Nathaniel Carter was found downstream. And the weird thing is, I don't know how old Nathaniel Carter was. Most of the victims that I'm talking about that are in this case, they don't show their age. I just know in general, all the victims in total were younger people. Why? I don't know. I I have looked that up. I have tried to research that to talk about it in this episode, but for real, literally, there's no reason why it was young people. Um, Fibers from Williams' car and home were linked to multiple victims, and they in 19 like literally I think the reason why police mainly hunted down on this man is because he was seen at a bridge and they heard a splash and they saw him drive away. Now, 2 days after the police saw it, when I just told you that a man named Nathaniel Carter's body was found downstream, they took fibers and stuff from his body, like did samples testing, and it linked back to Wayne Williams' car. And his home were both linked to these fibers. And they end up pulling fibers from other victims as well. And with these victims, they all match the same person. So they knew good and well that this is who they were looking for. So in 1982, Wayne Williams was convicted of the murders of Carter and another man, Jimmy Ray Payne. Again, do not know how old these people are. Officially, Williams was only tried for two murders. And the weird thing about it is what I meant to say was only only two of them he was tried for. And which is really weird because there was more than two people that went missing or were killed. So officially, Williams was only tried for two murders, but after his conviction, authorities closed 22 of the cases, saying the evidence tied back to him. That decision has been debated for decades, and me being a crime junkie listener, they should have tried him for every single case he was convicted of, because it's weird to me how you don't try him for every case, but you literally close the 22 in full. Um, some believe that Williams was responsible for all the deaths, and that's the thing. There's no proof that all the deaths were linked to him. But they still closed the other cases because they believed it was him. So it's really strange on why they are doing that. Um, Others argue that there may have been more than one killer, maybe a gang, maybe a group, maybe a hitman. I don't know. They just believe that it could have been all Wayne Williams, or it could have been him and other people, or it could just be a coincidence and all these different people were just going around doing that. Um, what isn't debated is the impact. What I mean by that is the Atlanta child murders left scars on families, changed how communities demand justice, for one, and raised questions about policing and media coverage that still resonate today. For me to be living 30 minutes from Atlanta, I never knew this happened until we started Mic'd Up. So it's probably good that I started Mic'd Up, because if I didn't start Mic'd Up, I would not have found Mic'd Up Investigates. If I did not start Mic'd Up Investigates, I would never have found out about this case. But now I do. Um, it's real sad to see that, and all major cities are going to be there's nowhere safe in them, if that makes sense. And the only place is safe in Atlanta is if you go to a rich place in Buckhead, or, it's really bad. Um, but now that I know that, um, it's just better to know now. Like, I didn't know that. Like, that's cool to know. Like, I mean, not cool that it happened. It's just cool to know. Like, glad that I know it now that I live close to Atlanta. Um, You have been listening to Mic'd Up Investigates. Our next case on our second part of this episode is the O.J. Simpson murder case. So please stay tuned and stay for the second part of this episode that you're on to learn about the O.J. Simpson murder case. Welcome back to Mic'd Up Investigates. This is our second part of episode 1 of the Atlanta child murders and the O.J. Simpson murder case. We are now starting the O.J. Simpson murder case. And this case gripped the entire nation in the 1990s, a story of frame, betrayal, and murder. A case that turned into one of the most publicized trials in American history was the O.J. Simpson murder case. On June 12th of 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ronald Goldman were found brutally murdered outside Nicole's home in Los Angeles, California. The shockwaves traveled beyond the city, not just where they were. I mean, it just went beyond. Because first of all, it's weird because you have a celebrity or a wife of a celebrity killed, and this other person's killed with her. Um, the question that the question everyone asked was, who could do something so horrifying and why? We're about to find out. So, before we begin, this case is not solved. There are very much rumors and speculations and very high rumors of people thinking it is OJ that killed his wife. To be honest with you, I don't like pushing my opinion into stuff like this, but what it comes down to is that it's just hard to tell because OJ was the only one that could have potentially done that. And even though there was proof that he was in Chicago while his wife was murdered, there's still certain things that really, really tip this case. And the only thing that made him quote unquote innocent was the gloves that were found at the crime scene that did not fit his hand. The gloves that the killer left behind, since they didn't fit his hand, he was immediately innocent, which is very shocking. Um, so here's how this case opens up. The investigation quickly focused on Nicole's ex-husband, O.J. Simpson, former football superstar and celebrity, and evidence began to pile up. Blood at the scene, a suspicious history of domestic issues, and a trail of forensic clues that pointed directly to O.J. So everything at this crime scene and in this house were pointing directly to O.J. as the automatic killer. The story took a dramatic turn when Simpson became the subject of a nationwide chase. So literally after they started questioning OJ, because I remember in my ninth grade government class, we were learning about how the Supreme Court and the courts work. Um, and we were watching the OJ Simpson case, and I remember watching it, and it was crazy to know that like the way I am is like I have a very not detective mindset. I just have a detective mindset. Um, but watching it, he was questioned a few times and questioned again, and then he just goes on a wild car chase, leaving when he was supposed to be somewhere for the go like for the by law he was supposed to be somewhere. I don't know where he's supposed to be. I just know he's supposed to be somewhere by law. Um, Literally on June 17th, 1994, millions of people watched live as OJ in a white Ford Bronco was pursued by police through Los Angeles freeways. And I don't know if he just stayed on one freeway or kept moving on to different ones. But literally, what I think if he was on a chase and he was trying to get away from something, I would have been getting out of Los Angeles. But it sounded like what I've looked, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, but I would assume that he was going from like different intersections. Like he would, I don't know, randomly like get on I-10 and then hop on I-5 and get back on I-10, like go around, go around, go around. I don't know though. I wasn't there. Um, so once he was in custody, the case went to trial, and for months the nation watched as forensic evidence and witness testimonies and dramatic courtroom moments unfolded on live TV. Lawyers for both sides presented their narratives, and tensions ran high. Across the country, people debated guilt and innocence. So there was a lot of people that said he was innocent. There's a lot of people that said he was guilty. After a lengthy and publicized trial, the O.J. Simpson was acquitted of the murders. The decision sparked outrage, and y'all, he was acquitted of the murders because of the gloves. This is not in the case that I have um, typed up that I researched, but I remember the reason why he was innocent because the gloves did not fit his hand. And that's what tipped him. That's what tipped the case. That's what made the them say he was acquitted of them. So the decision sparked outrage and conversation and controversy. While Simpson was found not guilty in criminal court, later civil trials held him responsible for the deaths, ordering him to pay damages to the victims' families. Now, the part about the civil part I really don't understand because if he was charged with certain civil things for the death, then but he quote unquote wasn't there, then why how does that line up? I really don't understand that part. Um, and he had to pay damages to the victims' families, which I don't understand that part either because if y'all acquitted him of the murders, he wasn't, in y'all's eyes, he was quote unquote not there. So why do he have to pay? I don't understand that. I will look that up. I should have put that in the report, but I did not put it in our little report, our little Mic'd Up Investigates report. But in closing for that, the O.J. Simpson case remains one of the most talked about crimes in American history, and it still is talked about today. And I know O.J. Simpson recently just died, but I mean, it still is talked about. It combined fame, forensic science, and courtroom drama and media spectacle, and no other case had ever like handled that way before. Um, and I mean, I can say there's a lot of cases that are crazy, and these are one of the craziest only. And I think it is so crazy only because of celebrity. Y'all, I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like if it was not a celebrity, it would have just, especially in California, it would have been like oh, just another one thing. Um, so that is these two cases, the Atlanta child murders and the O.J. Simpson murder case. These are two. Well, the first one I even know about, but the second one that I just spoke about, the O.J. Simpson, I did know about that. Um, in closing, you have been listening to Mic'd Up Investigates. Our next case is going to explore the story of the Tylenol murders, a terrifying series of poisonings that changed product safety forever. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, subscribe to the podcast now. I'm Tucker, and thank you for listening or watching to Mic'd Up Investigates. We will see you next time.